Hello and welcome to my channel. Thanks for being here. In this video, I'm going to share some minor upgrades that I made to my small living room. This is what it looked like before. And I say minor, this is part one of this project because I have other major plans that I want to do to it, but I will explain that at the end. Starting off with the coffee table, this was a gift, so it was free, but it's not necessarily in the colors that I would choose. My colors or my theme for the home is like warmer. I like gold instead of silver, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint it. That's an easy fix. I'm gonna paint the legs gold, and in order to do that, first I'm gonna tape off the top of the table. That part's going to be covered as well, but I just want to tape it off so I don't get too much paint on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. I don't typically wear gloves when I paint or really for any of the projects around the house except for when I'm cleaning the backyard. But I have fresh manicure here, so I thought I would protect that. I'm going to go in with this gold spray paint, which was just left over from a previous project. I think it's what I used to paint the handles on the refrigerator. So I shook this up and then I'm going to do two coats here. The first coat is just very light. I let that dry for several minutes and then I went in with the second and final coat just to make sure I got full coverage. I'm also making sure I get all sides of the legs, even like underneath. Because when I flip it over, that's what's actually going to be most visible when it's actually in the living room. So two coats of paint and it dried pretty quickly. I would love to have a coffee table that is like a real piece of marble, and then with the gold legs I think it's a good accent, but that is not in my budget right now, and so I'm simply going to cover the top here with marble contact paper and it's going to get the same look. So I'm removing the tape from when I spray painted. I also cleaned off the top just to make sure it's nice and clean and ready. I'm gonna measure out how much paper I need and I'm gonna make sure I leave some excess, some overhang on all of the sides just so I have a little room to work with a little flexibility. So I cut that down to size and then I start taping it down or sticking it down from one end to another, and I work slowly, little by little, removing the paper backing and then sticking it to the table. I smooth it out with my hands or with a little spatula. I found that with the hands it works a little bit best. I think it's like the heat from your hand that transfers onto the glue or something that helps it. So I did one piece down the middle and then I needed a second piece to join it because the piece of contact paper wasn't wide enough. So it was two pieces in total, and this was just left over from when I covered the countertop of the bathroom vanity when I did that makeover. I'll leave that video linked if you want to check it out. So it was basically free. It was left over. The paint was also left over and the table was a gift. So I was able to do this small little project for no money at all. In this corner of the living room, I had this palm tree plant that used to be really big and beautiful, but I stopped watering it. I just forget, and so it died. Getting rid of that, and in its place, I'm putting this tree. I think it's called fiddle leaf tree, but this one is fake because I cannot keep real plants alive. And so I went with the faux tree here. I got this one at Costco for $160. It's pricier than buying a real tree, but this one at least will stay alive. So it did not come assembled. It came like in different parts. I didn't film that part, but I put it together. And then I'm fluffing out the leaves here so that it looks a little bit more real. I'm bringing in the coffee table and putting it against this window just temporarily because I hadn't rearranged the sofa yet. And the dogs do like to sit on here and they look out the window. It's like their TV, so that's temporary for now. And then in this other corner, I had this other plant. This is a real plant that I've managed to keep alive somehow. But I don't really like the aesthetic of it, so it's moving into the guest bathroom. And I'm putting another fake tree here. It's the same faux fiddle leaf tree, but this one I got on Amazon and it's a little bit darker color. And same thing, it did not come assembled. I assembled it myself. And I'm fluffing out the leaves just to make it look a little bit nicer. I also didn't film it, it's not pictured, but I bought a little woven basket to put it in so it looks a little bit nicer too. So this front entry area is looking pretty nice except for the curtains. The curtains are so dirty. You can't really tell from the video here, but like I said, the dogs like to sit here, and if the curtains aren't open, they'll like slobber on it, or I don't know what they do, but this area, this like row here in particular is really dirty, and I hadn't washed these curtains ever since I installed them a year and a half ago. So it's time to do that. I'm just going to get up on the ladder because it's a super high ceiling or window. I tried to put it as high up as I could. So I'm gonna wash those on a delicate or gentle cycle in the washer, and then I just let them air dry before reinstalling them. While the curtains are in the washer, I'm going to take this opportunity that they're out of the way to also clean the windows, and I'm going to make my own cleaning solution. I like to do this instead of buying chemicals from the store. It saves me money and it's a little bit more natural. So I just got this recipe just from the internet. I just Googled DIY window cleaner. So what you're going to need is 1 cup of vinegar, white vinegar. I'm going to put it in the bucket, and then a teaspoon of dish soap. You really don't need that much. If you have too much soap, it'll leave a residue on the window, and it's counter what you're trying to do is clean the window. It's going to leave a film behind. So just a teaspoon of the dish soap, and then about 1 gallon of water. I like to use boiling water. Warm water would work as well. I haven't tried cold water. I feel like the heat just activates it more, I don't know, makes it a little bit more heavy duty. So I mix that all up in a bucket, and I have this specifically rectangular bucket so that it'll fit the squeegee on. I bought this squeegee on Amazon. One side has a cloth that's removable and washable, and the other side is the squeegee to dry it out. So I dip the cloth side in the bucket in the solution. I wipe down all the windows, and then I flip over the squeegee and use that to dry it. So pretty easy, pretty quick. I'm doing the inside of the windows and then the outside as well. I love this window because it's so big and it lets in a lot of natural light into the house. But I don't get a lot of privacy, and it faces out to the street. The curtains that I have on there are sheer, so you know they let the light in, but it's not private. So I went ahead and bought these roller shades. I like it because it's white. It kind of filters the light a little bit, it lets it in, but it gives you total privacy. And it's so cool that it's automatic. So it's got a control to open and close it, and then also an app on the phone with timer. It's so cool. It was the most expensive thing of this makeover, but well worth it. Next, I'm gonna hang up these 3 portraits that I have of my dogs on this wall behind the couch. For that, I'm gonna need a hammer, some tape, a pencil, and some nails. I'm going to use the tape as a guide so I know where to put the nails up on the wall. So I tape it first to the back of the frame, and then with the pencil I mark where the nail is gonna go. And I stick that tape on the wall where I think I want the frame to hang. And then I take a step back, I look at it, see if it looks okay or even. These were a little bit too close together at first, so then I separated them out a little bit. Once they were in the position that I wanted them, I went ahead and put the nail in with the hammer. I remove the tape and then I can hang up the frame. That's the easiest way I have found to hang any frames or hang anything on the wall. Now comes the most labor-intensive part of this makeover, which is to remove this wall heater or furnace. Ever since we moved in, we couldn't get it to work. It would sometimes turn on, but then we called the gas company and they said it needed to be repaired or else it was a hazard. And then we ended up getting central heating anyway, so we no longer need this one. We're gonna go ahead and remove it. The cover comes off pretty easily, it just pops right off. And then for the inside part, we had to remove the screws that were holding it onto the wall. But even after removing all the screws, it was still kind of stuck. So we ended up cutting into the wall a bit, knowing that we were going to replace this portion of the wall anyway. So we cut into that just to make it easier to remove this piece. Even after that, we still had to struggle with it a little bit, use some force back and forth until we finally got it removed. We disconnected the unit from the wall by cutting the wires so then it would be loose, and that way we were able to remove it, took it outside for the metal guy to pick up and be recycled. Before closing up the wall, we made sure to put a cap on the pipe for the gas just for extra safety. It was off already anyway, and then we removed the thermostat from the wall, and then we can move on to patching the hole. We removed the pieces of wood inside the frame that were holding up the unit. Then we cut and removed enough of the shiplap around to allow for the new board, the new piece of wood, to come in and be installed all in one piece so that it looks a bit more seamless and not just filling in this one tiny hole. I don't particularly like this shiplap, this kind of beaded board look, but I'm not ready to remove it all because it's throughout the house, so I'd have to do it all. So I don't want to do that quite yet, and so I'm just replacing this one section here. We couldn't find the shiplap that matched exactly, so we just bought something close enough. We measured the opening of that wall where we're going to fill it in, marking it off here on the new board, and then drawing a straight line, and then using a circular saw to cut it down to size. The first attempt to install the board failed because it was too big to fit in that space, but that's an easy fix. We just remeasured and recut and tried again. We used nails to secure the new shiplap piece to the wall, and then we were ready for paint. Actually, before paint, we used silicone caulking all around the edges to get a good seal and to make sure it was like a smooth transition from the board that was already there to the new board. 2 coats of paint later, this is how it turned out. But now that the furnace is out of the way, these portraits that I hung up look kind of funny because they're not spaced out correctly centered to the entire width of the wall. And so I took them down. I remeasured. I measured the entire wall and then the space between the portraits and the edges of the wall and the space between each portrait to make sure they were evenly spaced out. And then I went ahead and put them back up. The last little touch is to add a flower arrangement to the coffee table. I really don't like too much clutter on my flat surfaces, but I think this is just enough. The vase was a gift. It came as a gift with a previous flower arrangement of real flowers, but these tulips are fake. They look and they feel real. They were only about 20 bucks, so I think they look nice here. Before I show you the after of how everything turned out together, here's a reminder of what it looked like before. Pretty plain, and it looked like the sofa took up the entire living room. And now here is the after. Looks pretty similar, pretty plain as well, but with a few added touches and a little bit of decor, and then now it looks so much bigger. I love how it turned out. Like I said earlier, this is part 1 of this makeover. For part 2, I definitely want to get a new sofa, a couch. We're just waiting for the puppy Chelsea to come out of her chewing destroyer phase. And then I also want to change the flooring. I don't like the dark flooring. I prefer lighter flooring, but that has to be done for the entire house, so I have to put that off until later. I also want to add a rug under the couch and coffee table, something light colored as well, and definitely more decor pieces like things on the wall or just decorations that would make the place look a little bit nicer. Let me know any ideas that you have that I can implement here that you think would look nice. I like things minimal, but I do want it to look pretty as well. I will leave links to the items that I used in the description box below, so make sure to check out there. Go ahead and leave me any comments you'd like. I'd love to read those. Don't forget to like the video, please, and subscribe if you wish to do so. And I will see you next time. Bye.